Hi, Alliance Canada. I recently had the privilege to co-host the Alpha Leadership Tour in the UK with 100 pastors from across Canada and approximately 23 other Canadian Alliance connected workers. God is doing something very special around the world. And I shared some of these stats in my report to district conferences, which you can also download as well. In the UK, in particular among Gen Zs, they are calling it the silent revival. And we had the opportunity to witness some of this firsthand. We were invited to a prayer meeting where they were handing out tickets to ensure that we could get in, and I thought this was aimed at increasing attendance. Until we arrived early and found more than 1,000 people, mostly youth, already lined up around the block and down the street waiting to get in for an all-night prayer and worship service. Once the prayer meeting started, these young people were seriously seeking God with all their heart. And some people couldn't even get in until midnight because others had to first leave. Now, I've been thinking about the next generation so often over these last few years, but especially even more so over these past months. Now, some people look at me and they think I'm next gen, which feels like a terrible joke, because clearly I'm not next gen. And some days I need a power nap to get through the day, and let's just be totally honest, that's almost every day. I'm not even a millennial, and some of us still think that's the up and coming generation. Friends, the oldest millennials are already into their mid-40s. When I'm talking about next gen, I'm thinking about a grade schooler who hasn't even yet set foot in a church, but they will. Perhaps for the first time this summer when their parents drop them off at your day camp this July. I'm thinking about how we're reaching children and youth that do not yet know Jesus, but will be your and our future pastors and leaders. And more than reach them, but how are we discipling, encouraging them, and lending our influence for them? And to be clear, learning from them as well, and with them as we serve the King of Kings. I know there's often a lot of doom and gloom in the media right now, and some of it is, truthfully, very troubling. But I want to highlight for us that there's so much to be hopeful for, especially in the church. And so here are a few statistics to encourage you. March 30th from The Spectator. It says, a revival is underway in Britain. April 16th from CBN. It says on Easter Sunday, more than 12,000 people were baptized in France. They say that's 31% more people this year than were baptized last year. And the number of adults being baptized in the 18 to 25 year range rose from 23% to 36%. The Daily Mail notes, they say, I, like thousands of other young men my age, found the church. And then he says, and salvation from modern life. Relevant magazine, in a front page article recently says, commitment to Jesus in the US hits a 10-year high. And just down the road, well, almost 2 hours away from my house, a weekly worship and prayer service for teens and young adults has seen attendance over 1,000 for the last 3 years in a row. The Bible Society recently published an article calling Gen Z the quiet revival, sharing that in the UK, 2 million more Gen Zs are going to church today. And listen to this, 16%. It's actually 4x more over the last 6 years. 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds are now going to church. I'm filled with more hope and excitement than at any other time. Friends, it is because the Lord is moving in might and power. Yes, doubling our reach is an audacious goal. And yet on some days in my quiet times, I wonder if it's perhaps too small. So if there is indeed this groundswell of youth and young adults, and I'm telling you there is, and because they're everywhere, next gen who are hungry for Jesus, and the question for us is, are we ready to engage with them, to journey with them? I have a few opportunities for you to share with your youth in your congregations. The first is prayer. Alpha Canada is organizing prayer for every high school campus in the country. That's 4,911 schools, and they are challenging every church to adopt 2 high schools and to cover them in prayer. And what would it look like to be regularly praying for the children and youth in those high schools? So would you consider joining together and praying for them as a congregation? The link is here and in the video notes below. The second is Justice Semester. Pastors, elders, and church members, if you have anybody in your congregation who's 18 to 28 and looking for their next step, would you consider recommending Justice Semester to them? This is a 12-week program designed by the Alliance Canada. Just a semester is an incredible opportunity to explore or grapple with what following Jesus means for any young adult. I know so many people who said yes to a ministry experience and it changed the trajectory of their life. Registrations are open now and you can sign up on the Envision website. In addition, Chris Corbin from our Envision team has created a new promo video and we'll put a link to it below this video so you can send it to somebody that you know. But let's watch it together here.
Have you ever felt a tug on your heart?
Let's go.
A longing for something more? Imagine waking up in a completely different world, immersing yourself in a vibrant culture, making lifelong friends, and encountering God in ways you never thought possible. It's crazy what God can do in the span of just 3 months if you're willing to say yes to what He wants for your life. Come to Phuket, Thailand. Explore your faith, a new culture, and God's calling. Live in community with new friends. Learn from inspiring leaders and expand your understanding of God's heart for the world. Engage with an organization committed to breaking the chains of oppression. This is more than just a trip. It's 12 weeks that will ignite your faith, change your perspective, and transform your life. Are you ready to say yes?
Isn't that exciting? A closing thought. In my morning devotions recently, I was struck by a reading from Acts 13. Pete Gregg, commenting on this passage, notes that there's this specific theme, specifically the one that the Spirit speaks and then the disciples obeyed. For example, the Spirit spoke and Philip went to the Ethiopian eunuch. The Spirit spoke and Peter went to the house of Cornelius. The Spirit spoke again and Ananias went to pray for Saul, despite the dangers he considered that might lie before him in this act of obedience. The Spirit speaks and the elders in Antioch obey, sending out Barnabas and Saul. As we consider our vision of doubling our reach by 2034, it really is this simple and powerful, isn't it? God speaks and we say yes. My prayer, Alliance Canada, is that we will be a people abiding so deeply in Christ that we will hear God speak to us with increasing clarity. When we hear His Spirit, we will be a people of courageous faith, of courageous imagination who respond with bold obedience by simply saying a powerful, yes, Lord. Have a great month, everybody. Praying for you and so love our family of churches.